Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Kickn'it MLS. Today we have a new guest with us. I know we've been gone for a little bit, but it was, we've been a little bit busier with our personal lives, so it's been a little bit harder to get the shows out. But at the same time, that doesn't mean we're stopping. There's a lot to cover since the last time we recorded an episode. But before we get into all that, we have a new guest with us. We have our friend Fade. He's a good friend of ours. We've known him for a bit. He's on Twitch a lot. He mods for a couple people. Just a good guy. But Fade, just give us an introduction, a little bit of who you are, and what teams you support and stuff like that.
Hi, my name is X Color. Mostly people call me Fade. Close. I met all of you through many streamers. We all roam around. The teams I support, Barcelona. I know we got eliminated. And then I support a Mexican team, Cruz Azul. And then right
Yeah.
now I'm just waiting for my city that we're getting an MLS team next year, San Diego FC. So can't wait for that.
So yeah, man. Obviously excited to have you here. Obviously, it's good to have different perspectives because that's what we kind of look for on the show. We're also looking to add more people in. So if you are a content creator, you don't even necessarily need to be a content creator, but if you're someone that feels like you want to jump in here, give us a couple of your takes, and give out your opinions. Feel free to reach out to me, man. You can reach out to me on Twitter, or I even on my Twitch whispers. You can reach me out there. But yeah, let's get into it. So since the last couple episodes that we recorded, we've seen a lot of MLS teams struggle in Champions League. I'm still calling it Champions League. I don't care if it's CONCACAF Champions Cup or whatever they want to call it now, the Triple C's. So I think that a lot of it is just a lot of these teams are you see it now, right? Because we had the creation of Leagues Cup last year, and a little bit of that was kind of just a lot of the talk at the time was, oh, MLS has finally caught up to Liga MX. They were able to, best them in a tournament. And it's all good and dandy. But at the end of the day, none of those Mexican league teams were at home. It is different when you have to travel back and forth, play league games, do all this stuff. So it's a whole different environment. And I think here in a controlled environment, when a lot of these teams aren't home, it's very different. The training grounds are different. It's harder. It's a lot more difficult to prepare. But despite all that, I think Liga MX still continues to prove that they are dominant in this region, and there are not many teams that can really compete with them. And Miami just they got unlucky and they matched up with one of the better teams in Liga MX. Although I think that Honda and Fade, you guys are the ones that watch Liga MX a little bit more than probably anyone else on this show that we could have on, which is a good thing because obviously Monterrey isn't uh, the strongest team right now in the league, but they have a very comfortable side. They're strong, but it's a team that I feel like Miami should have been able to get through. They couldn't get over the hump. Uh, will that kind of go into effect, kind of like what we saw the collapse in LAFC for a bit last season, or do you guys think that this is just a hiccup here and we're just going to be able to move on and just focus on the league from here on? I'll let you go first.
First things first, right? Messi, if you let Romo clamp you up right then and there, but yeah, in the World Cup you performed absolutely tremendous. Which I get it. It's the Argentinian national team versus Inter Miami, but at the same time, still, right? He had to perform better, and when the light shone the brightest, right, for him
Mm-hmm.
in that moment that they needed him, his free kick went fucking wide, bro. Hella wide. So, I mean, nothing on Messi, right? At the end of the day, but again, like if MLS wants to catch up, first of all, right? There's a few things that they need to do, right? However, we'll go into that a little bit later. But the Mexican league will probably always be dominant as long as MLS doesn't focus on those key pieces that we will be talking about later on.
Yeah, and I think like Tigres got knocked out by Columbus, right? But I feel like Tigres at this point in the stage where they're at, It's a. I don't know how you guys view. I still view Tigres as kind of like an older guard. They have some players that are coming in that are a little bit younger, but it's an older team. A lot of the playing now. Wade wasn't playing, and that's their starting goalkeeper. So I check it as Tigres could have done better, but at the same time, Columbus did what they needed to do to get out and get into the next round. But Fade, how do you what do you think of the Liga MX teams dominating MLS teams right now?
Uh, with the Liga MX dominating the MLS teams on the Tigres and Columbus. Columbus is a really good team. I think they're doing pretty well in the MLS. And further fact, Tigres has been struggling in the Liga MX a lot
Mm-hmm.
because they're still relying on their French striker Gignac. When he joined Liga MX, he's overall good, but throughout the years he's just getting older and older. He's not getting
Mm-hmm.
good. And then for the Monterrey and Inter Miami, that game was pretty good, but Monterrey is still one of the strongest teams on the Liga MX. They're tied right now with second and fourth place. They're Tigres. I mean, it's Monterrey, Toluca, and Cruz Azul, both with
Mm-hmm.
29 points. So all Monterrey is still one of the strongest teams in MX, and with MLS, Columbus is kind of defying MLS still a little bit.
Yeah, and
They,
I feel like to touch on that point, like I feel like Columbus is uh they're they're representing MLS well.
yeah,
Because despite they're the defending champions right now and all that, it was really touted as Miami's going to represent the league. Miami's doing this. Miami's doing that. Connor, I see you shaking your head. I think you understand what I'm trying to get to is that, we can say the same thing about Inter Miami. Yes, it is an older guard, but this is a team that had players brought in that played in Europe. A lot of these players have played together. That excuse, I think, is would you
That's
really
kind of
give
the
it to them?
point.
Do you want to give them the benefit of the doubt,
That's kind of the
Connor?
point, though. Like you just mentioned, what everything that's wrong with this competition, right there with what you just said. They brought in all these players. Orlando City was garbage to start the season.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, we looked really good in the past 4 games after we got knocked out of CONCACAF Champions League. I looked at the fixture list for most of these teams that got knocked out early on, and they're doing much better right now. You look at the teams that are still in CCL or just got knocked out of CCL, they are doing so much worse right now that they're playing heavy amount of games in CCL. The teams that were playing early on, they were struggling in the league and in the Champions League because they brought in so much talent that they didn't know how to gel with each other in such little time. So they needed those fixtures in the league to actually click to be able to play those Champions League games and to succeed in the Champions League. Liga MX, they already started their season and played, I don't want to say a lot more games, but they
No, because
played
they
a good
started
amount.
in what, January, right? I think that's when they start.
mid January.
Mid January. So if you
So they
compare it
played
to MLS teams we started what,
late February.
late February this year.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
That's like
I
a
see your point.
decent amount of fixtures like that you have before the MLS teams. So these Liga MX clubs already have those players gelling with their teams in that time. And they're already like in that stretch where they started the season and they're picking up consistency.
Mm-hmm.
Teams like Orlando City, New England, St. Louis, they started the season and they Orlando and New England played against like some garbage teams. No disrespect, but they played against not very good teams, and then they got eliminated.
Mm.
But they didn't have the time to pick up the consistency to beat the big teams when they got there.
Mm-hmm.
Teams like Columbus and Miami had a first round bye, so they could win those games because they had time to pick up consistency in the league. Columbus also isn't struggling from what Orlando's struggling with about picking up new players. Miami isn't that way, though, because of the Suarez's, the Gressels that they brought in this offseason.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, and to your point too, yeah, that is a big thing too. I think that the gelling of the rosters and how much you can really get into it starting off the season and then having to play Champions League and having to do all these other stuff. So yeah, I get that too. I think that is that something that maybe CONCACAF should look into to kind of making it like, is it really fair? I guess if we really consider it that way, is it fair to have it start so early for MLS teams? And do you guys think that this should maybe get pushed back like a month into the MLS season to where those kind of first couple 4 or 5 games we can pick up a little bit of steam and kind of get there?
Well, think about it this way. You have the UEFA Champions League.
Mhm.
Think about it in UEFA. You got those teams, they play a good amount of chunk of games before they play Champions League football.
Mhm.
And it works in Europe, and teams like can actually sit there and, play good games that early on in the season.
Yeah, and I think the difference between the European calendar and the calendar that we have here in North America is the Liga MX starts in middle of January. MLS starts in February, like March time at the beginning. So there's still a month there, kind of just to wiggle room. So I think that just for the purposes of MLS, I don't think you can really start that early in January because you'd be playing a lot of people would be playing in snow games. Could you have it settled a little bit differently? Probably, but I don't think it would be fair for the league. But I think in terms of moving TCL a little bit, maybe not starting it right away in February, or in March. Maybe we started in April instead, kind of weigh it out. I get it. Leagues Cup and where it's kind of placed in July is a little bit weird. But at the same time, Leagues Cup is only there to be a second to CCC because it gets you the qualification. But I just think it's a little bit weird that, all these other leagues get that little bit of a grace period, but, MLS obviously doesn't. But I also feel like going into that, there's a lot of more things that have to take into place before we even get to that point.
I see what you're trying to do is that technically if you started early, MX have an advantage because they already started, and like MLS is barely started. But if you if you bring it back a little bit, like by April, MX is already finishing their season. They're missing 2 more games so they can go to playoffs. Yeah. And like MX, Liga MX just changed their playoffs again. It's not like the same no more.
Yeah,
there's this thing called play-ins, kind of type like the first and second only go through the quarterfinals, but the other teams have to play in other games, and then MLS is midway through the season.
We'd be like a month into the season.
Yeah, and then it's still kind of. I feel like.
Is it fair? Is it not fair? Like, how do you?
Here's the thing.
I feel like that's what I'm saying.
Here's the thing. Are you gonna fucking cater to one league just because we're fucking scheduled like way back when? Here's the thing as well too. Yeah, I get it. The weather, right? Most of the states they're gonna be under snow or under like extreme temperatures and shit. But at the same time, right? In Europe, Connor, as well too. Yeah, the bigger clubs, the ones that have already qualified to the Champions League, directly to the groups, yes, they have their time. But there are other teams who are doing their qualifiers
and those in August. Yeah, no, that's true.
Like PSV, like Ajax, like Porto,
Feyenoord,
exactly. And at the end of the day, they just have to hash it out.
Yeah, but you have teams in the CONCACAF Champions League, like Orlando City, like FC Cincinnati, like Columbus Crew, not Columbus Crew this season, but Cincinnati and Orlando, and
that's the thing as well
St. Louis, even St. Louis in a way that are good enough. They are good enough teams that they both. Cincinnati won the Supporters Shield. Orlando City barely missed out on the Supporters Shield. Why are we making these teams play like play-in Champions League teams when they're good enough to be main teams?
I get what you're saying.
Contenders for the CONCACAF Champions League.
Okay, so is this more due to the structure of the of the way that we have our Champions League over here? Because I think for me, I think it's very heavily like MLS and Liga MX based anyway.
Yeah.
You barely see any of the Caribbean teams, like any of the teams from the other leagues. Because I mean, let's be completely honest. I get it; it's very farmery. But if we're looking in terms of how can we grow this competition, and if they want to make it at least a little bit more, I don't want to sound rude, but give that a little bit more credibility.
Yeah.
I feel like they need to expand it just a little bit more, and not so much to Liga MX teams or MLS teams, but open it up more so that we can have more of like a group stage type of thing. We don't really have that here. It's all straight knockouts.
We used to have it. We used to have it.
Yeah,
They
we used to
fucking
have it. Yeah.
over CONCACAF, doing CONCACAF type things, and that's the thing as well too. Like, why are we bringing in Leagues Cup? Okay, yeah, you want the money grab. I get it. Fine, whatever. But you're taking the idealness out of the sports itself, and you're not letting CONCACAF grow as a whole when
But
you're just
I just think about it from this perspective, like it as the region, right? The region, because I feel like CONCACAF is just like like CONCACAF football, and I think that's been thrown out there. I've said it. We've kind of thrown that out there, but for me, this is what it is. It's if you have more games, more money gets like the share pool of the money gets spread out because there's more ticket revenue, obviously, with all these other teams. Like, yes, they are smaller sides, but the ticket revenue gets shared, more money is getting put into these teams. They're able to then grow their own leagues and continue to get better. I think that's why you see teams in the Champions League that maybe aren't the biggest teams in Europe, but you still got like teams like Croatia, like you got Dinamo Zagreb, and you got like all these other smaller teams, that are just they're getting money in this competition. Yes, they're not going to be world beaters, but they're generating money for their leagues, and they're growing their leagues in a little bit of a way. So
I'm telling you this, right? Saprissa used to be a threat in the CONCACAF, and now they're just a quote unquote small club, even though they're not realistic.
There's an example. I don't know if you guys remember during Leagues Cup, Cruz Azul had to pay the flight for this high T team because the CONCACAF didn't want to pay for their fucking flight. So Cruz Azul had to give money, flight, and jersey so they can come and play, so they cannot look bad. Because in perspective of CONCACAF, they don't care about other national team like the teams to play.
yeah, if we're being realistic, they only if we're being realistic, we're talking about CONCACAF in general. They only really care about Canada, Mexico, and the US. That's it. Because they know that we generate the most money, we bring in the most fans. It's just, if you go watch any CONCACAF game, let's say Jamaica, I don't know, Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, just throw it out there just as an example. They're not going to generate any money. You see those stadiums never get full. They have to package them in bundles for people to show up. Like,
hey, those games are good. I can't lie. Sometimes
those games are good.
It's like, oh.
But Guatemala.
Yeah, but bringing it back to that perspective, I think that if you expand the competition, if there's more that could be done here that could be beneficial to both the leagues and the region, but I don't really think that's
going to happen. They're not going to do it. They're not going to do it.
It's not going to happen. But
they just care about the money. That's the only thing they care about.
Yeah, honestly, that's what it is. But what can MLS do into getting better in these competitions and kind of go into that, and going into that, we've seen a little bit with this Miami elimination, some of the rules that they're trying to bring in now. Before, if you didn't know, there are roster rules to the MLS, so you're allowed to have 3 designated players that don't count against the cap, and then if you have 3, you can only have 1 U22 initiative player that counts against your cap, but it's like diminished, like it's at a set rate, so it won't go any. You can pay the player more, but it's not gonna be like that's just it gets minimized to that salary. So it allows restrictions and stuff. So you're able to kind of freely move stuff over when you have a U22 initiative player, which I think a lot of the teams nowadays, what they've done is they've gotten 2 DPs and 2 U22s to kind of just get in that, younger players that they can later sell on for more money. I think that with now the new roster implementation rules that they want to add, they want to expand it to where you can have 3 DPs and up to 3 U22 players without you having to touch your DPs, because you could do 2 DPs, 3 U22s. You'd have to move it around, but now it's just 3 and 3. So I think for roster construction, I think it really helps the league a lot. We have a lot of teams like Orlando that are now able to bring in another young piece to add on to their team. The Fire, actually, we now have open another DP slot and a couple more U22 slots open, so we can be able to kind of manage and move around there. So it allows us to kind of get better as a league. But it's not the most ideal thing, because I think people wanted to see another DP spot added and then just kind of go from there. But I think this U22 slot being added, I think it allows it for teams to not feel like they're just getting older players. It allows the youth that's coming into the league actually kind of flourish. And it's another thing that can be attractive to young players in South America, young players in Brazil, that, they might not be able to go to Europe right away, but they could use MLS as a launching point to kind of just go off there. I think that it's a step in the right direction. But I think that we will see the impact, as maybe not this year, maybe not next year, but the impact in like 3 years down the line, how much it's going to impact Champions League and games against Liga MX teams now, where it is going to be a little bit more competitive in that sense. But Honda, let me get your thoughts on this new roster implementation and the rule changes for that.
Listen, LA Galaxy is struggling in set pieces. There's rumors that Ramos could go to either Inter Miami, which boo, L, or LA Galaxy. If he comes to Galaxy, yes, he's on the older side, obviously, again, right? Oh, another fucking old man to add to the center backs. But he brings solidarity as far as set pieces go. He knows how to defend. But as far as the actual rule goes, I remember when it used to be just one DP, one youth. Now they're bringing in everything, and I'm like, one side of me says, finally, okay, they're going to bring in more pieces. But the other side of me is saying, like, are we just going to get more retirement players at this point? Like, dude, Chicago has a waste of fucking space and Shaqiri, no offense, John, but like, bring somebody else like that, like, dude.
No, and I think that a lot of these teams have money to spend. It's not that they don't. I think we saw it really with Colorado. There's teams out there that they low-key have money to spend. Orlando hasn't been afraid of spending that money. I think in this season we've actually kind of spent money for the first time in a while. Galaxy's never been gun-shy of spending money, but I think you guys are being more reserved. Now that you've had those experiences of signing players like Douglas Costa, Chicharito, obviously these older players that should have given you a bit more, they didn't. But there are teams out there that are willing to spend that money, and Miami has not been shy of spending money. So I think that these teams are the ones that are going to benefit. I think that also all the other teams are going to benefit too, because you don't necessarily need to bring in a high-level, high-class DP. You can bring someone in that you can respond or kind of place as a DP, but without having to necessarily feel like you're sacrificing any of your youth players. So I think that implementation also helps. I know we have like rule changes with the subs, and I think you even saw like this week they're doing in stadium VAR announcements. So before Connor, this, I know you've been to a couple of MLS games since VAR has been implemented, but you sit there, you just see the ref do this, and you just kind of all confused. There's no
confusion. It's more of just it's you sitting there just praying, like, I saw my team score a goal. Please. I don't see my team do that too often. Like, can we keep it?
No, but for me, it's like it's a confusion of like, okay, because there was a play. I think the game that I went to against I think it was Cincinnati, right? We get called a pen. I look over, all of a sudden I see the ref just stop, and we're going to VAR, but I didn't really see what happened in the play. All of a sudden, penalty. Like, having the sense of like we kind of know what's going on, because you don't get to see the replay. All you see is a picture. They don't want riots in the stadiums. All you see is a picture. That's all you see. So
they're kind of doing what Liga MX started to do the beginning of the season. They implemented the MVAR, so technically they go into VAR, they show it on the stadium screens, and also they're talking in the stadium after they say, "Oh, my decision," and they start talking in the microphone.
Yeah, so it's essentially what they're doing now, which I think it helps everyone just kind of understand it a little bit more. Because, like I said, there is a little bit of confusion when you're there. You don't really know what the fuck's going on. Like you're just kind of waiting to see, praying that either your team scored or there ain't nothing that nothing affects your team. But I think from both ways, having that understanding actually helps. Also, we have player substitution timing, which is 10 seconds to get off the pitch.
Yeah.
Like 60 seconds to get on. So I don't know. I think that there's been a lot of time wasting going on in football when it comes to substitution, but I've just seen that as part of the game nowadays rather than anything else really.
They got the stopwatch and the track gun,
Yeah. We're just gonna have
ready,
to just
set, go.
Yeah, no, for real. Like I think it's cool in a sense because it limits some of the time wasting, and obviously we see sometimes players getting upset and they'll like try to rush players off the pitch. So I mean, like if you're losing and you're making a sub, you're urgent to get off. If you're winning, you don't really care. So it kind of goes both ways. But I think that these rules, for me, it's showing that MLS is willing to kind of pivot and adapt and implement new things and just try stuff. Because I think at the end of the day, not that football is getting like stagnant or old, but I think that as technology is advanced, as things we've been able to see more as fans on screen and the things that we just experience, I think that it's good for the game to change a little bit. So that is it's positive to see those changes take into effect.
Overall, the U22, I kind of like the system because you're bringing in more youngsters that other teams in Europe can just roam around and look at the players. I kind of like the system because that's going to make the MLS grow even bigger.
Yeah.
And that's making Liga MX fall behind because MX is not focusing on the youngsters. They don't care about the youngsters there. The only good youngster that has been exploited to the Europe is Santiago Jimenez from Cruz Azul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we don't really export anything. And I think I think you see that with the way that MLS is kind of adapted and a lot of the younger American players that are playing out in Europe. I'm not saying all of them are going to pan out and all of them are fantastic. I think we've seen a couple of duds here and there. Chris Mueller obviously didn't really work out in Europe. Georgi Mihalovic ended up coming back. So like we've seen some of these players not really working out for them out there in Europe, but at least they're having the opportunity to actually go out and try. Some of these Liga MX players don't. And I think with that implementation of these U22 players, like I said, they are more inviting to other players in South America, and you can kind of bring up those younger players, and now you're making more money that way, and you're able to springboard them onto European league. So I think it's a benefit for not only the player and the club, but also, the league as a whole. You're not really being seen as a retirement league anymore.
American dream, America.
Yeah, you got to sell it, man. You got to sell it.
Like there's Torres from Orlando. That's pretty good.
Yeah,
I feel like the under-22 initiative, like those U22 slots, are very, very good for the league. But I also mainly think that 3 DPs, I think, is a great amount. I think 3 is just a great amount because you go into 4, and then you kind of start to see like a good part of the 11 being just extreme salary players. Like imagine teams like Miami, who they signed Messi and they signed Suarez. So when Suarez retires, let's say Messi plays another year, right? What stops them from going out and getting Griezmann too? Like them getting Griezmann, Suarez, and let's say Alba leaves.
That's what.
Let's say they grab like another 2 superstar players. What stops them from making this league boring and just winning, just walking the league with 4 DPs?
It's like Portland that signed Cabecita Rodriguez from America. They didn't waste a lot of money, but that's a good player they signed.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. You don't necessarily have to spend so much money. There's players out there that we can get into the league that they're quality, I think, for the league. And I think growing that quality, because I think you've seen it now. You can watch MLS like 10 years ago to today. It's not the same. Not the same league that we're talking about 10 years ago. There's the difference in quality. I think the speed of the game has also gotten a lot quicker with a lot of these younger players coming through. So like I said, these younger players will end up adding to the league a lot more, and I think that we will see that growth as it kind of goes on. But going into,
I feel like one more thing. I feel like that's a good thing, but I feel like MLS isn't doing enough. I feel like just limiting it to 3 people, like 3 slots, isn't the right thing. Why are you stopping MLS teams from being able to grow young players?
Yeah.
I don't care if they're DP slots. Like, I think if
So in that sense,
player,
should the salary cap get increased then a little bit? Do you think?
no, I think there should be unlimited U22 initiative slots.
Yep.
Like, I don't think you should have to sit there and cap it. If Andre Zeldrup or Rooney Baji wants to play in MLS, why are we stopping them from playing in MLS? Like, we should be inviting those kinds of players. Like the old retirement message, I think we do want to stop that, and we want to limit DPs to 3. Having those good veteran players is good for teams, but
Thank you.
I think that having all those young players with just a few veterans can make this league grow a lot more, make soccer more powerful in this country, and make it so there is a higher level for youth academy talent in the United States to raise up to actually be able to start in MLS rosters.
And that's what
And
I
it
was going
will
to ask
also
too.
increase the pyramid of USL, and it'll make the American players have to grind that USL tier for them to even think about playing in MLS.
Yeah, and I think that for that, like, you have to have some sort of for you to be able to have that, right? You have to have some sort of ability to just also understand that the fact that you're gonna have to sacrifice some of the talent that goes into this country, whether that's the young players that come through, things that happen. So like that is gonna be sacrificed, and that's okay. But I think that with that, you're changing the narrative of the league. People are going to look at it differently. And yes, I think that with the opportunity of being in the U.S., you get a lot more. Again, I think with that, sponsorship will grow. There's a lot of growing potential with that. So I do agree with you. I think that yeah, maybe that's something that we can look into and just not really cap it and open it up a little bit more. Not saying necessarily go out, spend all the money you want, but cap it a little bit more, making more enticing to want to come and play in the league.
Well,
For
don't
these
let
young
the
players.
U22 initiative slots like give an exact amount towards the salary. Like, I think you can sit there and spend on a U22 initiative player, and I think it gives like a certain fixed number to the cap, doesn't it?
It's a hard hit to the cap, but at that low number, at a low cost.
So I mean, I think that's good that like you can hit it at a good like a lower value. Like that's the kind of initiative or incentive that you were talking about.
Yeah.
I'm not saying like go out and spend all the money in the world, but I feel like fixing that number to a good amount and then making it unlimited could potentially give enough of an incentive, but not too much that people just sit there and say, I'm not putting a player over 22 on my team, you know?
Yeah, because I think you got to have added value to it, right? I think that if you have it to where I don't want to use the Dutch league as like an example, but they have a lot of younger players, a lot of people from these South American countries or North American countries. When they go to Europe, that's like the first stop that they go to. It's usually the Dutch league, or you go to the Portuguese league, and you kind of just develop. So what does MLS want to become? Now, again, I get to the point where people want to see it as a power. It's never going to be a powerhouse league. Let's be completely honest. Never going to be a powerhouse league. But can we become a league where we can be like, okay, this is a good league that I can go into where I can develop, and that's, I think, the level of where you should aspire to be at. So how do we get to that level? And I think you can still sell it to these players that are, kind of coming to the tail end of their careers and sell it as this is a good place for you to play. The level is still good enough, so you can still continue to flourish and do all that. So I think, like I said, there's a lot more improvement that can be taken, but at the same time, that is, we'll get to that point. But going into that now, I'm gonna head into the wooden spoon of last week, because I'm gonna be completely honest. I don't really have a big take here, or personal like agenda against any of the MLS teams that played this week, because I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really watch a lot this week. I just didn't get the opportunity. I've been really busy. But I'll start with Connor. Who's your wooden spoon of the week for this week?
I mean, I think that Cincinnati disappointed against a struggling Montreal team. I think Cincinnati's got high expectations from winning the Supporter Shield. They lost a lot of pieces still, but Montreal were definitely struggling, and Cincinnati weren't able to take advantage of that. We'll see this week on if Orlando City can if Orlando City beat Montreal. I think that will really rub a bit more salt into this wound for Cincinnati. But Montreal, I think we remember Montreal were doing very well, and then they dropped to like around where Orlando is now, and we struggled to start the season. So if Orlando can pull off a win against Montreal this weekend, I think this loss for Cincinnati could be really hard to take.
Yeah, to kind of counter your point, I mean, they're still doing solid. They're in 8th. They got 10 points. Montreal, like I said, I think, yeah, Orlando's got 8 right now. So you're like 2 points behind, but you're 2 points behind. But everyone in that little middle pack there, though, is so tight. Like, we have 9 points. I think Charlotte's only got it. It's literally 1 or 2 point difference in between getting a playoff spot and not being in a playoff spot. So it's a really tight margin. But I get what you're saying. I think they definitely we'll get Fade back in here, but
like they're on the same range as DC, Toronto, and Charlotte right now. Like teams like they were sitting there and they were like up there with Miami, New York, Philly, and now they're on a level of Charlotte, Toronto, DC. You know?
Yeah, no, and I get what you're saying. I think for us it's just finding that bit of consistency. But like I said, I think that as a whole, I don't disagree with you. I think that Montreal or Cincinnati could have done a little bit more and done more to just kind of, add on and kind of take that step. But, I don't want to shit too much on Cincinnati because I feel like they all right, But Honda, who's your wooden spoon? So wait, who did you end up picking?
Listen, for me,
Connor, who did you end up picking?
I was actually gonna segue and go out and pick Toronto.
Oh, Toronto for this week?
I wanted to point out Cincy, and that was like one of my ones there, but Toronto, I thought they were turning it around, and then to lose to Charlotte is quite embarrassing.
When did they get their red card though? At the end. Okay, yeah, I didn't think they did. Yeah, it was right at the end. I mean, it's difficult because they didn't have Insigne this game.
Pieces out. You have key pieces out. So in the game itself, yes, I could see how they were a wooden spoon. However, in general, I mean they're kind of struggling.
It's a kind of thing where it's like this week you can only really nitpick like that because there's a lot of teams where it's like you're just kicking them while they're down. Like LA versus Vancouver, LA is just cooking.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna throw this up there just to kind of throw it for argument's sake. Minnesota, I think, had a fantastic start to the season. Now they're just kind of tailing off. I don't know if they're being discovered now. I think because of the tactics that they were using at the beginning of the season, like not a lot of teams really
could be kind of figured them out. Well.
What's that?
Could be new coach factor as well. Teams.
I think he might be trying to implement a new system too a little bit. Probably he didn't really deviate that much when he first got in the job, but I think that now he's trying to implement his own style and put a stamp on it. And I think that we're seeing that it's just not like, it's not really been working out these past couple weeks.
Before they should have just been like, you know what?
Yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But I think that if I'm picking anyone for this week, and not like I'm necessarily nitpicking, like San Jose's just bad, and San Jose can get the wooden spoon every single week for a multitude of different reasons. But I think if I'm not really nitpicking, if I'm trying to be more optimistic, it's Minnesota with their fall off. I think New England is just continuing their bad season. So I mean, they're just. New England can also be in contention because they lose to New York City. That New York City side that although they're not that great this season, they still have a couple key pieces. And yes, they were at home, but
baseball tax.
Yeah,
baseball tax.
Honestly, but I don't think that a team like New England and what they're kind of built for and what they tend to represent throughout the last couple of years, they shouldn't be losing even if they're not at home. But credit to New York. New York's trying to get something going there, and they're not doing too bad. I hope that they can kind of pick it up because it's not like New York is, I don't have any haters towards New York, but they don't have a world beater right now, and I think that if they can continue to just develop what they got there, I think they'll be all right.
No, but they play in Yankee Stadium. That's a stadium for winners in baseball.
But hey, they got an MLS Cup. They got an MLS Cup. So.
An MLS Cup.
Listen, they got one. A lot of other teams can't say that yet.
Yeah, and they had the help of the MLS to fix that.
Yeah, but Connor, your club can't say that yet, despite.
Yeah, well, we won a trophy legitimately, so we'll take that.
It just sounds like hate. Honda, who are you gonna pick?
Listen, you guys may not want to kick the horse while it's down, but you know what? I'm gonna kick it. I'm gonna stab it. I'm gonna wound it. I'm gonna spit on it.
San Jose.
Jose, you're a Galaxy fan. Tell me you're a Galaxy fan.
Of course, bro. Here's the thing, right? San Jose, they have all the pieces back. It's not an excuse anymore, bro. And you're losing to yes, Colorado. They're doing decent, right? But they're on and off. They're always on and off, and they're at home. And to lose 3-0 like that, man, bro, come on. At least
all they have is Espinosa, man. Christian Espinosa can only do so much.
The reason they lost by 3 goals is because they didn't have Daniel, the greatest keeper I've ever seen. Daniel, guy.
Well, they have Yarbrough, man.
Yarbrough is not Daniel.
For Leon.
Yeah. He's not Daniel.
I fucking hated him when he was in Leon.
He's good. He was good back in the day. Now he's all right. I don't want to speak ill on my club legend. I wish him well.
He's getting dunked on by Navarro, so you know what? Yeah, there you go.
Hey, but I mean, again, I don't disagree with you. San Jose's just been struggling a lot this season. There's not really much there for them to really kind of pick up and kind of just continue moving forward and doing any of that. So I get it. I get where you're coming from. Faye, did you have a?
Yeah, I was gonna say they came from scoring 3 on Austin, bro, and it's Austin FC, another shit club.
They're both down bad. They're both down bad.
At the same time, you came from scoring 3 on a club in general, right? Score one at least.
Colorado's a completely different side, but let's be honest, Colorado's
crazy.
a little bit stronger. But Faye, do you have a wooden spoon for this week?
Many people won't like my wooden spoon, but I feel like Sporting Kansas City.
Ooh,
they had the chance to beat Inter Miami. They tied up 2-2, but Suarez just came in and just gave Inter Miami the win. But I feel like Sporting Kansas City had the chance, and I feel like they would have beat Inter Miami.
Sporting Kansas City had a great week. They sat there and they packed a 70,000 person stadium and showed up strong with less pink shirts than you'd see in a lot of other stadiums. Probably even Orlando Stadium. Sporting KC showed out. And to sit there and put up a performance like they did, getting that close to beating a top team in the East, is a very good showing. And especially with the way that they set it up, with how many fans they had attending that game.
I think Arrowhead's just one of those stadiums that's kind of set up to for the home factor, the home advantage. Arrowhead's it's just been that way. It's been like that way for the Chiefs the past couple of years. So I like that they went to Arrowhead. They packed out the house. All that's all nice and dandy. But I think SKC, not that they could have done more, because I feel like their roster in comparison to Inter Miami isn't necessarily the strongest. I think that having Johnny Russell out and not starting him right away because he's coming back from injury a little bit. So if they have Johnny Russell in, does this change a little bit? Maybe, but I don't want to harp too much on SKC, because I feel like despite what they had, despite the showing that they lost, with packing the crowd and everything, I still think that they had a decent performance. Not terrible, but decent performance. But moving on into that, our player of the week for this week. For me, I don't really have a particular player of the week.
There's a bunch of different
Um,
ones. To be fair. Honestly, like
I
each
have
one of us
two.
have one.
You have two,
Like,
Fade. Who are your two?
Ricky Puig for LA Galaxy. Well, what a performance he had on his game. And then Navarro from
From
Colorado.
Colorado.
Yeah.
Okay, not bad picks. Connor, go ahead. You're kind of looking a little confused over there.
I feel a bit hurt, man.
Because of Nico Lodeiro. Is that why?
I don't know how you couldn't pick Nico Lodero. I mean, he came in
To be
off the bench.
honest, I didn't see the Orlando game. If I would have seen it, I would have changed my mind. But Nico Lodero, he's an amazing player. I've seen him play many years, and he like my team I support in the Mexican League has been wanting to get him, but Orlando's too asking too much.
Substitution on the field, 72nd minute. Nico Lodero coming on for Wilder Cartagena. 10 minutes later, assist. We get Nico Brecalo goal.
Hey, but your boy Angulo played the whole game. So thoughts on that?
fucking hell, man.
Angulo player of the week.
Nah,
Bro,
no.
dude.
I'm even saying it.
Connor just looks like he wants out right now. He's about to
Bro.
dip out on us.
We
Like the
Nico-
agenda against Angulo is crazy though.
Nico
The agenda against
Lodero
Angulo.
is him. And if I don't even care if he only made that one play, the one play is worthy of player of the week.
So why
A
did Lodeiro not
91st
start?
minute goal that to win us the game 3-2, and he sat there and he played one of the best through passes I have seen in a while to Duncan McGuire. Somebody whose run was so close to being offside, on the midfield line. A turn and cross that you would see with somebody with incisive pass plus on FIFA. Not like somebody that's just sitting there playing a through ball in real life. I promise you, if you go out on the field, grab that ball, and you try and do what he did, you probably wouldn't be able to kick that past midfield. I can guarantee it. Because that pass is extremely tough to play
it's very
around the back, turning towards that throw and goal and playing
in
it
fairness,
to the perfect
his
precision.
assist to Duncan McGuire, you have to time that perfectly because either if he doesn't time that perfectly, Duncan's offside. He was able to get that ball out while Duncan was in his own half, which I think when I first saw that goal, I was a little confused as to how he was onside, but looking back at it, he was onside. That ball was played perfectly, but I'm not discrediting it. I'm just saying the glazing is real. The glazing is real.
And it's worth it. I've been watching my team fail for the past 2 months that I've been watching them. And this man, Nico Lodero, he comes on the field and he cooks for us. I have to watch Angulo play these garbage passes. He got an assist last week, which is remarkable for this man. Give this man a medal, a cookie, a statue, because that one assist was amazing. That's probably the first thing he's done right in the past 6 months, right?
in his whole career, I'm gonna say it.
Okay,
In his whole career.
Yeah,
You might as well say that.
All right, go ahead, Fade. Go ahead.
So you're saying Lodero just because he did that amazing play you're saying? If we were basing on that, I would have said Lionel Messi should have gone player of the week of what he did in the midfield and shooting outside the box out of 25 yards and scoring that banger. It's kind of saying the same thing right there.
Damn, you told that to an Orlando fan. That's
kind of. I would have said if you're basing off of that, I would have said Lionel Messi should have received player of the week just for taking the midfield and scoring a banger outside 25.
Lionel
25
Messi didn't score the winner though, did he? He didn't score it in the 91st minute, and he also didn't score. He also didn't set up the second Orlando goal.
And then Luis Suarez gave the winner to Inter Miami too.
Yeah, but he didn't set up the second goal.
Messi set up the goal. Messi set up the goal for Luis Suarez.
In 20 minutes.
I'll give it to Lodero just based on the fact that he came on and he changed the game for you guys, and he won you guys the game.
We were
just based on the fact.
66 minutes. He comes on 7.
My question is, if you need him that bad, why doesn't he start for you guys?
Why doesn't he start? I'll give you 2 words.
Ivan Angulo.
Colombian bias. This man sits here and we start Muriel and we start Angulo. Why? Don't ask me. They're Colombian. So clearly they're world class. Remind me, when's the last time Colombia qualified for World Cup? 2018?
2018?
6 years ago? 6 years ago, the last time they were relevant? And we're still relying on their players to get us wins? Excuse me?
The thing that Connor is saying about favoritism is just reminding me of fucking Xavi right now. Fucking.
Hey, the salt is still there. It's fresh. It's fresh.
You got Duncan Maguire and Nico Ladero coming on off the bench, and they both get goals for the team. But
so do they start this week? Do they start this week?
They should. They should, but they're not because
you know what might end up happening. He might feel like they'll be good without him. Bring him on fresh legs in the second half. Go at Montreal, but Montreal's a different team.
Because Nico Ladero has when we played against Atlanta, Nico actually had the most distance covered out of any player on our team, which for a guy that's that old is remarkable. You know, he shouldn't be a super sub.
That's fair. Honda, we'll get to yours before we get to these quick fire predictions.
All right, listen, I'll give it to Nico Ladero because of what he did. Because when I watched that game, he literally fucking changed the game for Orlando City. But I do want to point out there, right? Okay, yeah, Ricky Puig during the LA Galaxy game, yeah, he was tethering the plays. But a guy that I'm looking at is Painter. 1 goal, 1 assist. He was running up and down the field the whole time. Right, he was getting those passes into players as well too. Yeah, okay, yeah. Some of them didn't get completed, but I'm gonna give it to Nico Ladero because of the brief period that he had. Right, the brief period that he did what Painter did the whole game. So that's pretty much what I'm basing it off of.
All right, Connor, do you want to kick us off with our quick fire predictions? How did we stack up last time we predicted? I just want to know that.
John's streak is finally over. It's been about time, and it's finally over. He's not gotten the fewest predictions right in the week. This time it's Honda. I'm sorry to say it.
I went with 7 ties or something like that. So of course, bro, I expected it.
The main 2 that we all predicted right were Vancouver and Austin, San Jose. We all picked Austin for that game because San Jose is a mess. By the way, a reminder, I'm all the way on the left. I think Honda's in the middle. And John is on the right. Yes. So I picked New York over FC Cincinnati because I'm just him, I guess. I don't know why I did that in retrospect. That might have been it's probably some sort of fixture congestion or something. I don't know.
No, you said baseball stadium. That's what it was.
Baseball
no, because that's Red Bulls.
Oh yeah.
DC. John picked DC over Columbus. Interesting. John and I both picked NYC. Drawing with Atlanta. Baseball stadium tax. Chicago versus Houston. John and I picked Chicago. I know why John picked Chicago. And Honda ended up getting Seattle over Montreal and a draw between SKC and Portland as the 2 he got alone. So pretty impressive stack for that week. But I still haven't been the lowest yet. So hopefully this week isn't the start of my downfall. So let's stack this up. All right. First we got Atlanta versus Cincinnati, week 9.
These are quick fire. Honda, I think you're first, right?
Well, if I'm first, then I'm gonna go with a draw because they don't have Giacomakis, and so draw.
Connor, you go.
Give me Atlanta. Why is that red?
I was gonna say, I know I'm incorrect.
I'm already wrong.
He's already telling us how he's gonna be incorrect. All right. Give me a draw here. Give me a boring draw. Fade, what do you got?
Hey, you're wrong too.
I feel like
Um,
Cincinnati's gonna give the surprise.
So you
It
got
could
Cincy?
happen. To be fair,
all right, we got differing prediction.
Okay.
And now we got Columbus versus Portland. Columbus at home.
Oof. Honda.
you're gonna fucking hate me for this, but it's another draw, bro. Because I don't see Portland winning away.
That's great. I'm gonna take
CCC.
Columbus.
Give me
I-
Columbus
I
as well.
do-
Well, for Nancy
I
just signed a
do
new
think-
contract.
I think CCC tax definitely does exist, but I think again, Portland are just like they're such a mystery bag that I feel like they could totally lose this game, but they could also totally win this game. Like I
Yeah,
just don't
that's
see a draw happening.
I'll pick Columbus too. Portland just lost their
Alrighty.
main keeper. They got a red card, so it's gonna be a major
Oh, you're
fact.
right too. Forgot about that. I don't know how I forgot about that. We only saw it before we started the show, but Miami versus Nashville. I'm gonna give a draw really quickly before Honda says anything.
No, I'm going Miami with this one.
Okay.
Keep your prediction
I
of
think,
Nashville shit alive, Connor.
Hmm?
Remember, you said Nashville was gonna be shit, and they're gonna continue
Yeah.
being
So
shit.
if they keep drawing like I keep saying, maybe I'll be right.
I think this is a draw. And we get a
Yes.
repeat of CCC.
I'm convincing the people.
I feel like it's gonna be Miami.
Boo. No draw.
Okay.
Montreal versus my precious Orlando City.
Orlando,
This is
give me Orlando. I believe.
give me Montreal because they're
I
at home.
appreciate the support. Boo! Boo! We totally win this game. Yeah, give me Orlando.
I
Totally win that game.
I say a draw.
draw. Damn. Okay.
New York City FC versus DC United, baseball stadium. Remember
Baseball
that baseball.
Baseball Stadium number 2. Baseball Stadium number 2 because they're at City Field.
Give me New York City FC still.
Whoa! From
They're at
one
City Field.
baseball stadium to another baseball stadium. The advances
I
are
don't
crazy.
Hey, I think City Field gives them an advantage. Give me NYCFC.
Big money moves. Big money moves. We got baseball stadium to baseball stadium. We hopping around. How about
Alright.
Honda? Did you say already?
Yeah, I said New York City FC.
Boom. And you know what? Boom. New York City.
Oh, are we
FC.
going for are we
Baseball.
going with the clean sweep here?
New York
Maybe?
City.
New York City.
Hey,
Clean sweep.
hey, clean sweep. Santi
Baseball
Rodriguez.
stadium. Let's keep this baseball stadium moving, baby. Toronto versus New England.
Listen, if there's a time for Toronto to turn things around, it is now, especially with the players that they got anyways. Might as well. Give me Toronto.
Give me a
Boom.
draw.
Boom. I'm going for New England because bias or something. I don't know.
To be fair,
All right.
New England, if there's a time, them as well. But
Yeah, there's a time for both of these teams. That's
We
what
need
I'm
to
saying.
turn
It's a
this shit
draw.
around. I'm not gonna lie.
Fade.
I feel like it's gonna be New England. You gotta realize that Toronto lost one of their defenders. They got a red card. Long.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think of that. All right, what we got
Is that
next?
Aaron Long?
I think it is.
Honestly, I haven't kept track of that man's
no,
career.
it's
Shane Long?
the Irish.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I honestly didn't know he played for Toronto. I guess that's
Chicago RSL.
Yeah, that's your team.
Give me
I
my
want you
team.
to tell me first. I want
Give
you
me
to tell me
Chicago.
first. What
Give
do
me
you?
Chicago.
Ooh, man's got balls on him. He got balls supporting his team. Honda.
Double down on Chicago. And you know what? Those guys from Wake Up MLS, they don't know what they're talking about, bro. I'm just gonna say that.
What did they say?
They
What
said
did they say
Real
over there?
sweep.
Man, they're drunk. It's because they don't have me there this week. That's
They
why.
don't have you there,
They're
man. It's
drunk.
crazy.
They're over
Don't
here being all drunk and
disrespect
shit.
Yeah,
Kiddie
Arango,
Choro.
No, I'm not disrespect. Love the show. If you haven't seen it, go watch it.
Exactly, go watch it.
I'm on there usually every week. But guaranteed that I haven't been on there in like 2 weeks. I don't know what they're on. They need help.
They were calling for your name, John. That's all I'm saying, man. They're calling for your
They
name.
probably were.
Hater.
My
Hater.
pick will be. Sorry, John, but Real Salt Lake. They tied against Columbus.
That's all right.
Yeah, it's good.
You took RSL. That's fair. All right. Austin against who? Dynamo, right?
Houston Dynamo.
Hey, it's quick fire.
Dynamo.
Quick fire. I'm trying to get through.
Houston.
Yeah, come on.
I pick Houston.
Give me Houston.
Wait. John. Fader.
Houston.
Yo, my caps lock. What'd you say?
Houston.
Give me a draw. Let me be boring this time. Kansas City versus St. Louis.
Oh, the Battle of Missouri.
Kansas City.
Give me a draw.
Boom.
Give
Boom.
me St. Louis.
Boom. Give me KC. Colorado versus Dallas. Colorado at home.
Colorado.
Boom. Boom.
Yeah, give me Colorado. Dallas is their center back just had he's got an injury. He's gonna be out for the season.
And their striker is streaming. man.
Pomacall?
Colorado.
Yeah.
Paxton. LAFC versus the New York Red Bulls.
LAFC.
The team
Let
of
me go
the
first,
voicemail.
guys. New York Red Bulls. And no hate, but New York Red Bulls.
Let me go with a draw.
New York, LA, draw. That means I get to tip the scale, and I'm going to tip it towards New York Red Bulls. Seattle versus Vancouver. Seattle at home.
Give me a draw. I'll take a draw.
Very, very entertaining, it seems, today.
Give me
Four
Seattle.
draws. Boom.
Rui
Vancouver.
Diaz, another banger.
Vancouver.
Yeah, the scale
I don't
again.
want to pick against Seattle. It'd be mean. That's why I'm going to do it. We're going Vancouver. I trust
Okay.
Vancouver for some reason. Charlotte, Minnesota.
Give me Charlotte. Charlotte.
Boom.
Minnesota.
Wait.
They bounced back this week.
So wait, do we have two Charlottes or
No. Draw.
draw? Charlotte, Minnesota, Minnesota. It's like y'all are making me tip the scale every time. You know, it's everyone's got that differing opinion.
Okay,
Or,
if we don't
at
agree
least
on here,
Colorado.
y'all are wrong. Galaxy.
Yeah,
Galaxy.
all day.
it's got to be Galaxy, man.
Boom, boom, boom.
Galaxy will fucking destroy San Jose. Sorry, San Jose fans.
I'm joking.
Oh, do you have San Jose on there, bro? He's so unserious.
They don't have Cowell nowhere. They don't have Cowell.
Nah, man, it's
We-
just tough out here.
Mars got the death beam pointed towards Earth. Give me San Jose.
So we got what? We all agreed on the New York what was it? The New
Yeah,
York
it was
FC
New York.
and the Galaxy game.
New York and Galaxy, we
Everyone
all agree
see-
on that. We'll see.
We all agree. We all agree on baseball stadium tax. We all agree on Colorado, and we all agree on Galaxy.
Oh shit! I forgot about the Colorado game. Yeah, we got
Yeah,
three.
man. Honestly, like for me, it's the fact that they are just
Orlando City.
not the greatest.
You're taking Montreal.
Yeah, they're at home. They're at home. It's a bit of a flight. It's a bit of a flight.
Oh yeah, Orlando doesn't like to travel, do they? But I mean,
Yeah, we do.
Hey.
We won.
All right,
in
we'll
Canada
see how it
last
all
time we
pans
went
out.
there.
We'll see how it all pans out. But
We ended
Guys,
Michael
this has
Bradley's
been.
career last time we were in Canada.
Oh, it's so unseat. It's so
Y'all just wait for San Diego FC.
Yeah, it is. Just on that note, guys, it's been a good episode. We kept it a lot shorter than we have in the past. I think I like this new system of just talking and being able to just express a little bit more, give you a little bit more insight of the league. I think it'll help people understand it a little bit better too. So from us, it's been a good show. We'll see you guys later. You guys take care. Like, subscribe. Talk to y'all later. Peace.